Have you ever felt like you were doing everything right? Texting first, making plans, showing genuine interest? Yet somehow it still felt like you were chasing someone who never intended to choose you? Here's the uncomfortable truth that many men don't want to hear. Attraction is rarely confusing when someone truly wants you. Most of the confusion comes from hoping that mixed signals secretly mean yes. They usually don't. Far too many men spend months, sometimes even years, trying to decode behavior that is actually very simple. They convince themselves that she's just busy, shy, scared of commitment, or waiting for the perfect moment. Meanwhile, she's already making it clear through her actions that she's simply not interested in building something romantic. Now, this doesn't mean every woman who does one of these things automatically dislikes you. People have different personalities, different communication styles, and different circumstances. But when several of these signs happen consistently, it's usually worth paying attention instead of making excuses. One of the biggest mistakes men make today is believing persistence can replace genuine attraction. Effort is important, but effort cannot create feelings that aren't there. Respecting someone's lack of interest isn't weakness, it's confidence. It allows you to stop investing your time where it isn't appreciated and focus on people who genuinely enjoy your company. The goal of this video isn't to criticize women. Everyone has the right to choose who they want to date. Instead, this is about helping men recognize patterns earlier, avoid unnecessary disappointment, and protect their self-respect. By the end of this video, you'll understand 7 common behaviors that often suggest a woman isn't interested romantically. Some of them are obvious, others are surprisingly subtle, and they're the ones that keep many men stuck in false hope. So pay close attention. You might recognize some of these signs from your own experiences. And if you do, don't see them as rejection. See them as valuable information that helps you move forward with clarity instead of confusion. Sometimes, the greatest confidence a man can have isn't convincing someone to like him. It's recognizing when it's time to walk away with dignity. 1. She never makes time for you. One of the clearest signs a woman isn't interested in you is this: she never seems to have time for you. Everyone has responsibilities. Work gets busy, family needs attention, and life can become overwhelming. But when someone genuinely likes you, they usually make an effort to create opportunities to see you or at least stay connected. Think about it. We all make time for the people who matter. It may not be every day, but there is consistent effort. If weeks go by and you're always hearing, "I'm busy, maybe another time," or "I'll let you know," yet nothing ever changes, you should pay attention to the pattern rather than the excuse. Many men fall into the trap of believing that if they just wait a little longer or try a little harder, things will eventually be different. They tell themselves she's under stress or that the timing is simply wrong. While that can occasionally be true, repeated lack of effort usually speaks louder than promises. Here's something worth remembering. Interest doesn't always show up in words. It shows up in actions. Someone who wants to be part of your life usually finds small ways to make that happen, even if it's only a quick phone call, a short conversation, or setting a date for another day. Imagine asking someone to meet up 3 different times over several weeks. Each time, she says she's busy but never suggests another day or offers an alternative. Meanwhile, you notice she's regularly spending time with friends, attending events, or posting about activities online. That doesn't automatically mean she's a bad person. It may simply mean you're not a romantic priority for her. The hardest part is accepting what the pattern is telling you instead of what you hope it means. Confidence isn't about convincing someone to choose you. It's about recognizing when your time and energy would be better invested elsewhere. A man who respects himself doesn't keep knocking on a door that never opens. He appreciates the lesson, moves forward, and leaves room for someone who is genuinely excited to spend time with him. 2. You're always the one. Starting conversations. Let me ask you something. If you stopped texting her today, how long would it take before she reached out to you? For many men, the answer is uncomfortable. Days would pass, then weeks. Maybe she'd never message at all. That's a sign you shouldn't ignore. Healthy interest usually goes both ways. It doesn't mean every conversation has to be perfectly balanced. but both people should want to keep the connection alive. If you're always sending the first message, asking how her day went, checking in, or trying to make plans, while she simply responds when it's convenient, the relationship is becoming one-sided. Many men mistake replies for interest. They think, well, at least she answered. But answering a message isn't the same as wanting a conversation. Someone can reply out of politeness without feeling any romantic attraction. Pay attention to the quality of the interaction. Does she ask about your life? Does she continue the conversation? Does she ever send you something because it reminded her of you? Small actions like these often reveal genuine curiosity and interest. Sometimes men keep carrying the entire conversation because they're afraid that if they stop, they'll lose her. But here's the reality. If the connection disappears the moment you stop putting in all the effort, there probably wasn't much of a connection to begin with. A woman who genuinely enjoys talking to you won't expect you to do all the work forever. She'll make an effort to reach out, ask questions, share stories, and keep the conversation flowing. It may not happen every single day, but you'll notice that she wants to be part of the interaction. Don't measure interest by how often she responds. Measure it by whether she's investing in the conversation too. Real interest feels like two people walking toward each other, not one person doing all the chasing. 3. Her replies feel cold and empty. Have you ever been excited to text someone, only to get back one-word replies like, okay, lol, nice, or cool? At first, you might think she's just having a busy day, but when that becomes the pattern, it's time to pay attention. The truth is, conversations reveal interest. When someone enjoys talking to you, they naturally keep the discussion going. They ask questions, react to what you say, and show curiosity about your life. It doesn't feel like you're interviewing them, it feels like you're both contributing. Now, that doesn't mean everyone is a great texter. Some people simply prefer phone calls or face-to-face conversations. That's why you should never judge someone's interest based on one conversation alone. Instead, look at the overall pattern. If her messages are consistently short, dry, and lacking enthusiasm across different situations, it may suggest she's not emotionally invested in getting to know you. One mistake many men make is trying even harder when they notice this. They send longer messages, more jokes, more compliments, and more questions, hoping they'll eventually get a different response. But if you're constantly putting in 90% of the effort while receiving 10% in return, you're not building a connection, you're carrying one. Another thing to notice is whether she seems engaged only when she needs something or when she's bored. If the energy disappears as soon as the conversation shifts back to you, that's another clue that the interest isn't mutual. The important lesson here is simple. Don't chase enthusiasm that isn't there. Genuine interest usually doesn't feel forced. You won't have to keep searching for the perfect message to get someone's attention. A strong connection is built on mutual effort, not endless guessing. When someone enjoys your company, you'll often feel it through their consistency, their curiosity, and the way they make the conversation feel natural. Stop focusing on isolated messages and start paying attention to the overall pattern. It will usually tell you everything you need to know. 4. She avoids being alone with you. This is one of the signs that many men overlook because they keep explaining it away. If a woman consistently avoids spending one-on-one time with you, it may be telling you something important. Think about it. When people genuinely enjoy someone's company, they usually look for chances to spend time together. It doesn't have to be a fancy dinner or a long date. Even a simple walk, a coffee, or a quick conversation can be enough. The point is that they want to be around you. Now, everyone has different comfort levels, and there are perfectly valid reasons someone might prefer group settings at first. That's completely normal. But if every invitation is turned into a group hangout, postponed indefinitely, or avoided altogether, you should pay attention to the pattern instead of assuming things will eventually change. Many men convince themselves that she's just nervous or waiting for the right moment. Weeks turn into months and nothing changes. Instead of accepting the situation, they continue investing more time, more energy, and more hope. Here's a difficult truth. If someone wants to build a romantic connection with you, they'll usually make room for moments where the two of you can actually get to know each other. They don't have to be available all the time. but there should be some willingness to create that opportunity. This is where many men need a wake-up call. Stop treating every excuse like it's a hidden sign of interest. Sometimes an excuse is simply an excuse. The more you ignore the obvious, the longer you keep yourself stuck in a situation that isn't moving forward. Respect isn't just about how you treat other people. It's also about how you treat yourself. If someone repeatedly avoids spending time alone with you, don't keep trying to force what isn't happening naturally. The strongest move isn't to pressure her or demand an explanation. It's to quietly recognize the pattern, accept it with maturity, and move on. Your time is valuable, and it deserves to be shared with someone who is genuinely happy to spend it with you, not someone who is always looking for a reason not to. 5. She keeps you in the maybe zone. There are few things more frustrating than never knowing where you stand. One day she seems interested, the next day she disappears. She says, "Maybe we'll see. Let's play it by ear," or "I'll let you know." But somehow that maybe never turns into a clear yes. This is what many men call being stuck in the maybe zone. You're not being rejected outright, but you're not being chosen either. And that's exactly why it's so confusing. The problem isn't hearing maybe once in a while. Life happens and plans change. The real issue is when uncertainty becomes the normal pattern. Every invitation is met with hesitation. Every conversation leaves you wondering what she actually wants. Instead of clarity, you're left with constant guessing. Many men convince themselves that they're making progress simply because she hasn't said no. But the absence of a no doesn't automatically mean there's a hidden yes. Sometimes it simply means the answer isn't what you're hoping for. Here's where you need to be honest with yourself. If you're constantly analyzing every text, every emoji, and every delayed reply, you're probably spending more energy trying to interpret the relationship than actually enjoying it. A woman who is genuinely interested doesn't usually leave you wondering forever. She may move at her own pace, but she'll often find ways to show that she wants to keep building the connection. Her actions create confidence instead of constant confusion. Men need to stop treating uncertainty as a challenge to overcome. You don't earn someone's interest by waiting indefinitely or proving your patience. A healthy relationship begins with mutual enthusiasm, not endless uncertainty. If someone keeps you in the maybe zone for weeks or months without any real progress, don't make the mistake of putting your life on hold. Keep living, meeting new people, and focusing on your own goals. Remember this: clarity is a gift. Whether the answer is yes or no, knowing where you stand allows you to move forward. But living in permanent uncertainty often costs far more than a simple rejection ever could. 6. She shows interest only when it's convenient. One of the most confusing situations a man can experience is when a woman seems interested, but only when it benefits her. She disappears for days, maybe even weeks, and then suddenly she's back. She starts a conversation, laughs at your jokes, or acts unusually friendly. Just when you think things are finally changing, she pulls away again. That cycle can keep a man emotionally invested far longer than he should be. Now, to be fair, everyone gets busy from time to time. A delayed reply or a quiet week doesn't automatically mean someone isn't interested. The key is consistency. Is she making a genuine effort to stay connected over time, or does she only appear when it's convenient for her? Pay attention to the timing. Does she only reach out when she's bored, needs a favor, wants attention, or has nothing else going on? Then, as soon as her situation changes, does the communication fade again? If that pattern repeats itself, it's worth asking whether you're being treated as a priority or simply as an option. Many men mistake occasional attention for growing interest. They think, "She texted me first this time, things must be getting better." But one good conversation doesn't erase months of inconsistency. Look at the overall picture, not just the moments that give you hope. Here's where some men need a reality check. If you're always available the moment she decides to come back, you're teaching yourself to accept inconsistent effort. That doesn't mean you should be rude or play games. It simply means you shouldn't rearrange your life every time someone gives you a little attention after a long silence. Healthy relationships are built on reliability. Both people make time, communicate honestly, and show up consistently. You shouldn't have to wonder whether today is one of the few days she'll acknowledge your existence. Value people who value your time. If someone's interest only appears when it's convenient for them, don't feel obligated to wait around for the next time they decide to reach out. The right connection won't leave you surviving on occasional moments of attention. It will be built on steady mutual effort. 7. She talks about other men around you. This is one of the strongest signals that many men choose to ignore because they're hoping the situation will eventually change. If a woman regularly talks to you about other men she's interested in, excited about, or thinking of dating, it's worth paying close attention to what that may mean. Now, this doesn't mean every mention of another man is a sign she's not interested. Friends naturally talk about the people in their lives, and casual conversations happen. The important thing is the pattern and the context. If she constantly asks for your opinion about another guy, tells you how attractive someone else is, or shares stories about the people she's dating, she may see you more as someone to confide in than as a romantic partner. Whether she realizes it or not, she's showing you how she currently views the relationship. Many men make the mistake of believing this is some kind of test. They think, maybe she's trying to make me jealous, or maybe she's waiting for me to prove myself. Sometimes people do test reactions, but building your expectations around that possibility can keep you stuck. It's healthier to focus on what is consistently happening, rather than trying to decode every conversation. Here's another mistake. Some men stay in this situation because they're afraid that walking away means losing their only chance. But if you're constantly listening to stories about her romantic interest in other men, while your own feelings go unnoticed, you're putting yourself in a difficult emotional position. You deserve relationships where your interest is returned, not relationships where you're constantly hoping to become someone's first choice. Real attraction usually creates curiosity about each other, not endless conversations about someone else. If you find yourself in this position, don't become bitter or resentful. Respect her right to choose who she's interested in, and respect yourself enough to recognize when your feelings aren't being matched. Sometimes the strongest decision a man can make isn't convincing someone to see him differently. It's accepting the situation with maturity, protecting his peace, and moving forward toward people who genuinely appreciate him. 8. Stop chasing mixed signals. After hearing these signs, some men will still think, maybe my situation is different. And sometimes it is. Human relationships are complicated, and no single behavior tells the whole story. But if you've noticed several of these patterns happening over and over again, it's time to stop chasing mixed signals. One of the biggest reasons men stay stuck is because they focus on exceptions instead of patterns. They remember the one compliment she gave them, the one long conversation they had, or the one time she seemed excited to see them. Meanwhile, they ignore weeks or months of inconsistent behavior. Hope can be a powerful thing, but it can also keep you trapped when it isn't balanced with reality. Here's something every man needs to understand. Attraction isn't something you can force. You can't argue someone into liking you. You can't earn affection simply by waiting longer, trying harder, or sacrificing more of yourself. A healthy relationship grows because both people want it to grow. That doesn't mean you should become cold or stop showing interest in people. It means you should pay attention to whether that interest is being returned. Relationships are partnerships, not one-person projects. If you constantly feel confused, anxious, or like you're walking on eggshells, ask yourself why. The right connection shouldn't require you to decode every message or wonder where you stand every single day. While every relationship has moments of uncertainty, mutual interest usually brings a sense of direction rather than endless confusion. This is also a good moment to look inward. Are you chasing someone because they're genuinely right for you, or because you don't want to accept rejection? Those are two very different things, and being honest with yourself can save you months of frustration. The strongest men aren't the ones who refuse to let go. They're the ones who recognize when their effort isn't being matched and have the confidence to move forward without resentment. Sometimes walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing self-respect over endless uncertainty. And that decision often creates space for healthier, more fulfilling relationships in the future. 9. What genuine interest actually looks like. After talking about all the warning signs, it's just as important to understand what genuine interest actually looks like. Too many men spend so much time looking for red flags that they forget to recognize the green ones. When a woman is genuinely interested, you usually don't have to constantly question where you stand. That doesn't mean everything is perfect or that there are never misunderstandings. It simply means her actions generally match her words. She makes an effort to talk to you. She doesn't leave every conversation up to you to start. She asks questions about your life because she's curious, not because she feels obligated. She remembers small details you've shared and brings them up later. Those little moments often say more than grand romantic gestures ever could. Another sign of genuine interest is consistency. She doesn't disappear without explanation, only to return weeks later as if nothing happened. She communicates in a way that makes you feel included rather than confused. Even when she's busy, you can usually see that she's making an honest effort to stay connected. You'll also notice that spending time together doesn't feel like a negotiation. She looks for opportunities to see you, even if it's just for a short while. The effort comes from both sides, and neither person feels like they're carrying the entire relationship. Here's something many men overlook. When someone genuinely likes you, you don't have to become someone else to keep their attention. You don't need to pretend to be richer, funnier, or more successful than you really are. The connection grows because they enjoy being around the real you. That doesn't mean you should stop improving yourself. Continue building your confidence, your career, your health, and your character, but do it for your own growth, not to convince someone to choose you. The right relationship won't feel like an endless audition where you're constantly trying to prove your worth. It will feel like two people choosing each other, investing in each other, and moving in the same direction. When you experience that kind of mutual effort, you'll realize something important. Real interest brings clarity, not constant confusion. And once you know the difference, you'll stop settling for anything less. 10. Respect yourself. Enough to walk away. After everything we've discussed, this is the most important lesson of all. Know when it's time to walk away. For many men, walking away feels like giving up. They think that if they leave too soon, they might miss their chance. So they keep waiting, hoping that one day she'll suddenly see them differently. Weeks become months, and sometimes even years, while nothing really changes. But here's the truth. Walking away isn't a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you value your time, your energy, and your self-respect. One of the greatest traps a man can fall into is believing that his worth depends on whether one particular woman chooses him. It doesn't. Your value isn't determined by someone else's feelings. Attraction is personal, and not every connection is meant to become a relationship. The strongest men understand this. They don't become angry or bitter when someone isn't interested. They accept it with maturity, wish the other person well, and continue building a life they're proud of. They focus on improving themselves, strengthening their friendships, pursuing their goals, and remaining open to meeting people who genuinely appreciate them. Here's something to remember whenever you're unsure. If you're constantly chasing clarity, attention, or basic effort, you're probably investing in the wrong connection. A healthy relationship shouldn't leave you feeling like you're competing for a place in someone's life. Respecting yourself also means setting standards. You deserve honesty, consistency, and mutual effort. Don't settle for endless uncertainty because you're afraid of being alone. Being single while growing into the best version of yourself is far healthier than staying emotionally attached to someone who doesn't share your interest. At the end of the day, confidence isn't about making everyone like you. It's about knowing that you'll be okay even when they don't. The moment you stop chasing people who don't choose you is often the moment you create space for someone who gladly will.